Roscoe!
Cappy!
Roscoe!
Cappy!
Hey, Roscoe. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of a little show we like to call Ballers to Balding, where, as always, we're going to have some strong takes, some weak follicles. If you enjoyed today's offering, please like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram and Spotify. Give yourself this simple pleasure. You've worked hard. You've earned it. I guess what I'm saying is indulge yourself with us. Anyway. Welcome back, Ross. How you doing? What's been going on?
I'm doing good. As you know, for the next several weeks, I'm going to be in our Chicago studio. And when I'm in Chicago, I like to enjoy the delights of the Chicago atmosphere. Downside's a little inconsistent weather, not like Arizona, where it's sunny every day. Here, you get a little bit of humidity, some clouds. But I got to tell you, to me, the thing about Chicago that I don't get, and the thing I think is so overrated, is the deep dish pizza. I mean, people love the deep dish pizza. To me, it's so freaking heavy. It's like eating a piece of souffle. It's eating souffle or a quiche. It's just you don't have a deep dish pizza and then go for a run.
No.
It's just no. What do you think? Do you think it's overrated?
I think it's delicious. I do prefer thin crust. I prefer New York. When I was in Chicago, deep dish. The thing about deep dish is, to me, it's less of a pizza than a dairy-based endurance test. It is. After 2 slices and a couple beers, you ain't going out, man. You need to loosen your belt. You need to be on a couch immediately.
Absolutely.
And so for that reason, I mean, but it is delicious. My mouth is watering right now thinking about it. I haven't etten. So, but I understand. You're back in Chicago. People eat big there. And
they do.
And they get big there.
That is unfortunately starting to happen with me. But anyway, let's talk about some good stuff for Ballers to Balding.
So, Ross, before we get into the regular show today, we got a little business we got to clean up. As people know, last week we did an episode on the top 10 sports movies of all time. We named our top 10, and it turns out our corporate office in Houston was inundated with suggestions, complaints, comments, and there was one movie that people seemed very upset that we did not include in our list, neither one of us. And that movie was
Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans, correct.
Remember the Titans.
And
so do you want to talk about why we didn't have it on our list?
Look, let me be clear about this, Ross. Remember the Titans, very good movie. It's inspiring. It's emotional. It gets you believing that decades of racial conflict can be solved by 2-a-day practices, a Motown sing-along, and a beautifully overwritten pep talk. So yes, I like the movie a lot. It's just not on my top 10 list. And that's not an insult. That's the way lists work, Ross. There's 10 spots. There's not 12. There's not 15. This is not youth soccer where everybody gets a trophy and orange slices. I just think there were 10 better sports movies, you know? It seems like Remember the Titans is so loved by some people that they no longer can evaluate it. You know, Denzel gives one speech, the team runs through the woods, and all of a sudden you're required to put it on every list of sports movies ever made. Right?
Right. No, absolutely.
I mean, it's not perfect. Every disagreement in the movie is solved either by a heartfelt speech, a montage, or somebody dramatically removing their helmet. That's my problem with it. Real football teams don't act like that. Sometimes 2 players hate each other all season and they just coexist because they both want playing time. Yeah, and I know it's based on a true story. So is Braveheart. And historians watch that movie the way doctors watch Grey's Anatomy. They yell at the screen while everyone else is crying. Based on a true story, has a lot of latitude, man. Just ask Rudy. So yes, Remember the Titans, very good. Could it be my number 11? For sure. Definitely in the discussion. But to everyone demanding that we remove one of our personal favorites to make room for Remember the Titans, allow me to respond with a quote from the movie itself. Attitude reflects leadership, Captain. And right now, your attitude reflects a leader who believes my top 10 should operate like the Big Ten and just keep adding members. I'm not going to do it. And every time I look down my list of the movies to see which one I could replace with Remember the Titans, I get to number 10 and Remember the Titans is still standing out in the hallway alone, dramatically taking off its helmet. So I'm sorry, we'll have to agree to disagree. Comments, questions?
So first of all, I don't want our listeners to mistake your passion for anger. I mean, this
Well,
is just, you know, this
no, no,
is
I'm
just
mad. I'm mad at these fuckers. No, I'm kidding.
well,
I'm
well,
just having fun. They
as you
were
know,
they came at us pretty hot, some of these people.
they did.
They acted like we personally took Denzel out of the movie and replaced him with Kevin James. We didn't do that. It just wasn't in our top 10.
Well, let me just add, look, one of the reasons we created Ballers to Balling was to try to create this type of debate in the community. And we love the
Wait a minute.
passion.
I thought we were just bored.
That too. But the reality of the situation is, for me, it's as you point out, it's a really good movie. It just
Yeah.
wasn't top 10. Now, why wasn't it top 10? I'll give you one specific example. One part of that movie that always bothered me was they go through their season, they're perfect. Then, at the first sign of playing a team that's as good as them in the championship, in the second half, to show that they're working together, suddenly the defensive coach starts taking some of the offensive players who are the most talented and just throwing them on the defense, even though they haven't played defense all year. For example, Sunshine suddenly becomes one of the key defensive players, even though he's the quarterback and hasn't played one down of offense. And that's just one of many. Again, that doesn't take it out of the running. It's still an excellent movie, just not top 10.
For me, it's not top 10.
Nor
All
for
right,
me.
we've solved that. I apologize to anyone who thinks it is. I respect your opinion and your nasty comments notwithstanding. I still respect you and like you. Moving along to our regularly scheduled program here,
Ooh.
one of our most popular segments, our,
Teabag, teabag,
our
teabag,
douchebags of the week. Why don't you go
douchebag.
first with your douchebag of the week, Ross?
Pray tell, you'd like me to start off. All right, I want to give a little background to my douchebag of the week. Let me start off by saying I don't care about the WNBA. For me, I just don't get it. I don't follow women's college basketball. I don't follow the WNBA. Nevertheless, notwithstanding my feelings, they're doing better. They're increasing interest. They're increasing, the salaries are up. They have better revenue and the ratings are up. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm in Chicago, so I'm going to take a look at the WNBA All Star game recently played in this city. So I go on, and what do I see? I see the WNBA All Stars half assing it. Well, what does that mean? Well, they are throwing bad passes. They're playing no defense. There's air balls. There's missed layups. And of course, they're not really dunking, so that's not an option. So the fact of the matter is, I just see crappy, shitty product. But unlike the NBA, which I also think has a horrible all-star game, in the women's, I'm not seeing windmill dunks. I'm not seeing incredible athleticism. I'm just seeing a bunch of players who look like they're in middle school playing a middle school game. No interest. Now, why does this matter? Because, as I said, all those things are showing up for the WNBA with respect to ratings, revenue, etc. They have an opportunity for a national audience with nobody else watching anything to look and to show that their product is legit. And this is what they show. Lost opportunity. Lost opportunity for me and for any casual fan who is tuning in to actually see excellence on the hardwood. It just didn't happen. And for me, that is a huge, huge issue. It's a huge, huge, as I said, waste. That league lost a huge opportunity. So for me, they are my douchebags of the week.
I do watch the WNBA,
Okay.
and because I like Caitlin Clark, and because I don't know what else to watch, and I can't disagree with that. That is a huge opportunity for them. They can't treat it like a regular All-Star game from other places because it's a chance to bring in more audience when they're at their hottest point. They should play it hard. There should have been some. They should make it worth a lot of money or something. That game.
Let me just
Great.
add one
Yeah.
other thing before I let you go.
Yep.
You know, in the NBA, when they were trying to make their product more marketable, they used to play hard. The guys like Bob Cousy, Bill Russell,
Yeah.
Will Chamberlain, they played those games hard because they're trying to sell their product. Again, missed opportunity. Okay,
Major
let's
Major
hear
League
your.
Baseball had it. Whoever wins the All-Star game gets home field advantage in the World Series,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But like,
Yeah.
at least they're trying. All right, this is a tough one for my douchebag of the week. Is a little tough for me. I love Michigan as much as you hate Michigan, right? So
I
this
do
one's
hate
not easy. My douchebag this week is the outgoing Michigan athletic director, Warde Manuel. Now, his tenure at Michigan is fascinating because the teams were actually great. Michigan won national championships in football and men's basketball. They beat Ohio State. They won conference titles. They filled trophy cases. Women's and men's gymnastics won national titles. So, this is not your typical incompetent athletic director who destroys the program and leaves behind a string of losing seasons and recruiting in shambles and 6 years of probation. Note, Warde Manuel mastered something far more impressive. He won constantly while at the same time making the entire athletic department feel like a crime scene. Michigan football won a national championship, but only after the program was swallowed by the Connor Stallions sign stealing scandal, a story involving illegal scouting, ridiculous disguises, and even a manifesto. Then offensive coordinator Matt Weiss was fired and later federally charged over allegations involving unauthorized access to thousands of athletes' private accounts. Then the hockey team, Mel Pearson, who was accused of mistreating staff, misleading investigators, and retaliating against players. They knew they had to fire Pearson. They knew it was going to happen, but they moved so slowly that his final season actually felt like a farewell tour. Then there was basketball coach Juwan Howard, who struck a Wisconsin assistant coach during a post-game handshake line. That should have been an easy one for Warde. Your basketball coach just slapped another coach during the one moment specifically designed to prove that adults can lose a game without slapping each other. And instead, Michigan suspended him and brought him back because their zero tolerance policy, I guess, starts after the first slap. Finally, this is the recent one. Head football coach Sharon Moore was fired after the university found out that he was conducting an illicit affair with his subordinate. Reports later indicated that Manuel had seen red flags long before the final blowup and even warned Moore that he shouldn't be traveling with his staffer. So he knew enough to issue a warning, but apparently not enough to interfere or perform any kind of other duties generally associated with being the person in charge. So when a married father, who's the face of the program, is banging his assistant, he gave a little warning. And that is the Warde Manuel experience. Something terrible happens. Everyone asks, who knew about this? Michigan launches an expensive investigation, and then Warde appears maybe 3 months later looking like a man who's just been informed that, yes, he is in fact the athletic director. At some point, leadership can't just be standing next to a trophy case taking pictures. Yes, the team's won, absolutely, give them credit for that. But if every coach you hire eventually requires an investigation, a nationally televised firing, and a legal defense team, you're not running an athletic department. You're managing the cast of Real Housewives of Ann Arbor. I mean, sorry, winning can't erase the leadership failures. Warde Manuel built an athletic department that could defeat anybody in the country except his own HR department. And now, after years of scandals and delayed reactions and institutional chaos, he's leaving with a generous $7 million payout, additional money for his retirement account, attorney fees paid, lifetime football tickets, and golf privileges.
Really?
Yes, that's what they gave him.
Oh my God.
He exits the athletic program the same way he ran it, surrounded by lawyers and scandal, and somehow he's still winning. So congratulations, Warde, for presiding over national championships, coaching scandals, federal charges, and enough internal investigation to produce 5 Netflix documentaries. You are my douchebag of the week.
Those are strong words from you, my friend, because
Yes.
as our listeners know, you bleed maize and blue.
I
You
do.
love Michigan.
love
I mean, you're
Michigan.
irrational. You're irrational about it.
So honestly, me personally, I'll take the championships.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
did what he had to do. No,
Yeah.
no, it's incredible. It's just he really left the program seeming very sleazy. All right, those are our D bags of the week. Every woman who wears a basketball uniform for you, and one guy who was crooked for me. Misogyny, honesty. Anyway, now we got to get to the Red Sox.
All right, yoo-hoo! Go Sox!
I mean, we were talking before about how the Red Sox are so horrible, but here's the Here's the reality, man. On June 24, just a few weeks ago, Ross, they had the worst record in baseball. I'm sorry, worst record in the American League. They were 14 games under 500, 15 and a half games behind the Yankees, and playing baseball with the confidence of a man trying to parallel park his car while his wife is watching. It's nerve-wracking. You wanna seem cool, you should be able to do it. So I ask you, in 3 short weeks, okay? In 3 short weeks, they went from, "Who can we trade?" to, "Who are we gonna pitch in game 1?" It's crazy.
And it's
What
great.
the hell happened, Ross?
So it's very high level. Look, all year their pitching and defense was excellent. It was always good. It's their hitting which was historically bad. But over the last month, there's been a big turnaround in their hitting. Now, their hitting is still not top of the league, but it's now league average. And I don't think anyone signifies that more than Caleb Durbin, who's their third baseman. I mean, during most of the first half of the season, he was literally the worst hitter in the league. He has now turned it around where he's timely hitting and he's actually pretty hot. I mean, we're not talking about suddenly the Red Sox being a tremendous hitting team, but their hitting is good enough such that with that pitching and with that defense, they are doing exactly what was Craig Breslow's vision of them, which is run prevention. So all that making fun of them, they're kind of doing it right now. Contreras is playing like an MVP, and Sonny Gray, really, if he keeps going the way he's doing on the mound, he's going to get some Cy Young votes. And remember, this is without Garrett Crochet or Anthony or Roman Anthony for most of the season. So you have to give it to them and really say that what they've done in this turnaround is really impressive. Now, I would sort of a sad note or a sour note is they just made a trade of a really nice young lefty, Conley Early, for Curtis Mead from the Nationals, who's having a breakout year. Well, he's not just having a breakout year, but in his second at bat for the Red Sox, he broke his wrist.
Yeah.
And they're going to determine whether he needs surgery, but he's out for a while. And I would think if he gets surgery, he's out for the season, which is really, really a bad, bad break for them. No pun intended. But overall, we have baseball. We care again. And football training camp just opened. We're back in it, baby. We're back in the gravy.
You know, another thing that I heard about the Red Sox, and I will say that I read an article that said they were talking about Chad Tracy. And apparently, after one of their brutal losses, Tracy sent the players a late night message that basically said, "I'm not turning on you. We're all covered in the same shit. We're getting out of this together." Which is kind of exactly the opposite of the message most Boston managers have sent in the past, which usually is conveyed by anonymously leaking it to the media that, all the players are fat or all the players don't care. It was a move that really kind of bonded them. And the other thing he did was after a few days of really bad travel, he eliminated some of the pregame workload and just told them, you know what, just show up and play. No spending 6 hours at Fenway thinking about how horrible things have been going. Just arrive, put on your silly pants, and try not to lose to the Yankees. And it worked. It worked, which brings me to another question, which is team chemistry. Baseball
Huge.
baseball people love, chemistry because it explains everything that's already happened. I mean, when a team loses, the clubhouse is toxic, and when the same team wins, a few weeks later, suddenly everybody loves each other and they're dancing in the locker room. And I think chemistry alone doesn't make a bad pitcher throw strikes or, you know, he can't hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Nobody ever improved his OPS because, the whole team went to Topgolf together. But chemistry does matter.
I
It
agree.
matters when players are asked to bunt instead of swing away. It matters when a veteran loses some playing time to a rookie. It matters when, one bad inning could become a 6-game losing streak, but instead somebody says, "Hey, man, we're fine." And everyone else actually believes him. Winning usually creates chemistry first, but then chemistry makes it a little easier going forward. Confidence grows, players stop pressing, role players feel trusted, and things start to gel. And I think that's exactly kind of it feels like what's starting to happen for the Red Sox. They were probably never as bad as they looked in June, and they're not as good as they've looked in this 15-game winning streak. No one is.
Right.
But they've gone maybe from expecting something wrong to happen to expecting someone to make a play. And I think in baseball, where pretty much every at bat has failure baked into it, that change can be worth a lot, you know? So
Hmm.
the question is whether this transformation is real or it's just an elaborate 6 week setup for the most devastating September collapse in recent years for the Red Sox. So we'll see. That remains to be seen. But I think chemistry matters. It's like there have been other. Can you think of other teams where something happened and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just turned and chemistry just made them better than they were on paper?
Well, with you and me, our chemistry in Acapulco, getting chicks. I
That's
mean,
true.
that was. I
That
mean,
was amazing.
remember the Genojo sisters? I mean,
Yes, I do.
I
I
mean,
do.
yeah, all right. But anyway, also with respect to sports, the 2004 Red Sox. What most people don't realize, and that's the team that broke the 85, the drought, the
The
85-year
idiot.
drought. Yep. And that team had added before 2004 Kurt Schilling and Keith Fulp. And nevertheless, they were in a malaise all season. And one of the things that they felt was that Nomar was still on that team as of the trade deadline. And he had really fallen off on fielding and he didn't have much range. And he did not have a great attitude because before that season, the Sox had tried to trade Manny Ramirez and Nomar for A-Rod and Maglio or Ordonez, obviously Irish. And the deal had fallen through because
Hmm.
the Major League Baseball said that A-Rod couldn't give up as much money as he wanted to give up, blah. But Nomar, it became public, and Nomar knew the team had tried to trade him. He therefore had a really crappy attitude, and they ultimately had to. Theo Epstein traded him at the trade deadline for Miguel Cabrera and Doug Mickavich. It was a 4-team trade, but it ended up with them. And man, that team took off from that
Right.
point on. And they ended up winning the World Series. Chemistry matters. And no one is saying Nomar wasn't a great Sox player, but his time had run its course, that it was an unfortunate situation. Kind of reminds you a little bit of the Jaylen Brown situation as far as the trade becoming public. And that turned the team around, ultimately breaking the streak. Well, not the streak, but the
I think that's an excellent example. They were the idiots. It took chemistry to come back down 3-0 to the Yankees. The clubhouse was together, and I also want to say you used a very big word, malaise, which for our audience, that's a condiment that's often used in salad dressing. It's used with ketchup. No, malaise. I looked it up. It's a general sense of depression or unease,
right.
and I mean, where you pulled that one from, and that was very impressive.
But what the word I could not pull, which I want to make sure, it wasn't a streak. It was a curse. It was the 85-year curse. Thank you.
The one that I thought of,
Mm.
okay, 2001 Patriots. You think about the 2001 Patriots, they started 1-3.
Ooh.
They lost Drew Bledsoe and handed the offense to a sixth-round quarterback whose resume basically consisted of holding a clipboard accurately. And that team, they weren't loaded with household names. But once Brady took over, everybody seemed to understand exactly what their job was. Defense made plays, offense avoided catastrophic mistakes, and the team developed a genuine belief that if they stayed together and they kept it close, something good could possibly happen. And that's actually how they won the Super Bowl game. At the end, it was
Yeah,
not flashy. Robert Kraft
totally.
later described that group of players as, they weren't necessarily the most talented on paper, but they bonded together, played as a team, and made fewer mistakes. And of course, the lesson of 2001 is the team chemistry is incredibly important, and it helps when that quiet backup quarterback turns out to be the greatest player ever. But I will say that Brady back then, he wasn't the greatest player yet. He played within himself. And there was just something about that team. They were 1-3 with Bledsoe. They would not have won the Super Bowl with Bledsoe. It was a chemistry, it was a shift in chemistry. Well, Roscoe, they go fast, man. It was an
They do.
interesting
They do, Ken.
episode. I just
Yep.
want to say preemptively, I have nothing against the way these women look and play, and I love all women. And but address all your emails to Ross on this one. I'll take the ones if there are more. Remember the Titans. I'll see you next week, Ross.
Get back. Love you,
If
buddy.
if you haven't been canceled, it might just be me and a cutout of you. Love you, pal.
See you, bud.